Hello boys and girls, a very good morning and welcome to this live session on the IBPS PO exam analysis brought to you by TalentSprint. Well, the D-Day has finally arrived and I'm sure at least 25% of the IBPS PO aspirants are going to take their exam today, right? And of these 25%, 25% must have already finished and the second set of 25% will be probably getting out of the examination centers anytime soon, right? So close to 10-12% of the people who've applied for the IBPS PO exam are already done or almost done with their first round, and I hope that you have performed well in your exam and you get a call for the next round, which is the IBPS PO main examination. Now, you know that this session is scheduled to discuss about what has happened in the first shift, right? First day's first shift of the IBPS PO prelims exam, right? For those who are unaware, let me tell you that the IBPS PO preliminary examination has started today. The first shift was at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock was the reporting time, and we've got some first-hand feedback from the students who have appeared in the first shift, and this session is to discuss that feedback with you all, just in case it helps you, right? While we have always believed that depending too much on this may not really be helpful, because every shift the kind of paper pattern may change, right? And you will not be able to take any major action also in this one day. Let's say your exam is tomorrow, right? You'll not be able to do anything major in this one day based on the feedback that you get here. But it's always good to know, right? Good to know. Don't get too attached to any feedback that you get out of these, people who have taken the exam already, right, before you, right? So we'll be discussing something about what has happened, right? What kind of questions were asked, the kind of difficulty level of each of the topics that was tested there, right? The number of questions that most of the people must have attempted, etc. Right? We have conducted a survey ourselves for our students, our student community, and we got a lot of feedback from all those who have taken the exam already. And yes, we have some people in our team who also visited the examination centers to get the first-hand feedback as soon as the students stepped out of the examination hall. So I'm sure this is going to be really very helpful to all you guys. But before we begin, let me also see if there's anyone out there who has finished the exam already. All right? I can see a lot of you have joined the chat. Vishal Kumar, Pushkar, Hemalata, Satish, right? Durga Babu, Priyanka Singh, and then we have Brinda, Harita, Vijay, Jeevana, and many others. So for those who are new to these live sessions, let me mention that this chat box that you see right beside your video screen can be used to interact with us. So if you have any questions or any queries or any feedback, please feel free to post it there, and we would love to address that. So yeah, and I think questions have already started coming in, right? Here we have Jeevana who says, was it easy or moderate exam? Well, I think you've missed the third level, right? Was it easy or moderate or difficult? Because usually that's the categorization. Maybe you are expecting the paper to be only easy or moderate. So we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that in detail. I have a colleague of mine who's going to join me very soon in this session, and she will throw some light and help you understand what happened in the first lot, right? But is there anyone there who has taken the exam already? I'm sure you can provide a lot of feedback yourself through the chat. Yeah. We have Vishal Kumar who says, please tell, could I get the free tutorial in reasoning from you? Well, Vishal, we have a lot of videos on the reasoning ability subject available in our YouTube channel for free. So you can subscribe to our channel and go through all these videos, right? Not just reasoning, but we also have videos on quantitative aptitude, English language, and other sections like banking and general awareness, current affairs, computer knowledge, anything that will help you move closer to your bank or SSC exams. Yeah. Shrey here says, I have cracked some exams just because of TalentSprint. So good to hear that, Shrey. But our focus today is to discuss on what happened in the IBPS PO preliminary examination. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have got great access to all these aspirants who have already done the exam, right? I mean, you'll have at least one person known to you who has taken the exam in the first shift, and you must have already called that person by now to figure out how the exam was. But then this live session is just to get the forum discuss about the first shift. So we'll look at that. What kind of puzzles is expected for tomorrow, right? We have a user by name Hot Cup. So what kind of puzzles are expected for tomorrow? Well, I wish I could answer that question. All I can say now is what kind of puzzles were asked today, how easy or difficult were those puzzles. And like I said, I have colleague of mine who will explain you on that. Okay, I think Madan is the one who has taken the exam. He says, yes, I have attempted 72 questions. The paper was of moderate level. Great. So I think 72 is a good attempt, 72 questions, and he finds that paper was of moderate level. Okay. Then we have Maruthar Diora, whose exam is on at 3:30, and he will give the best. I'm sure all of you will give your best in the exam. So should we start? Shrikant, by the way, says yesterday's 4:30 p.m. batch exam looks moderate. Yesterday 4:30 p.m. Shrikant, the exam has started today. There was no exam conducted yesterday. So please get your facts right. Don't believe on something which has not happened, right? The IBPS PO preliminary examination for the year has started only today. So how did you get to know about anything that happened yesterday, right? There was no exam conducted yesterday. Anything else? So I think not many here have taken the exam already, but I'm sure we have a lot of feedback. So good to see you all. I think overall the first hand insights that we have is that the paper was of moderate level, right? Neither too easy nor too difficult, right? And no major surprises as such. Quantitative aptitude, we knew that there will be 35 questions in quant, 35 in reasoning, and 13 in English language. So the kind of questions asked were all in line with the expectations. I mean, not the kind of questions, but the topics that were tested, right? Like for example, simplifications and data interpretation, arithmetic ability, right? Number series. These are the common topics which are usually tested in the quantitative aptitude section, right? Again, within arithmetic ability, it seems there were questions on time and work, time and distance, profit and loss, right? There were some questions on, I think, percentages and averages. This may vary from slot to slot, right? From one shift to the other shift. So that's about like, I mean, briefly about what happened in quant. In reasoning, apparently there were questions on puzzles, which is not a surprise, right? We know that puzzles carry a high weightage in these exams these days, right? So puzzles, and there were questions on syllogisms, there were questions on coded inequalities, right? I think there was some comment I was reading on one of the forums which said, where the student mentioned that while there were 5 puzzles asked, the number of questions were not 25. See, usually we have 5 questions per puzzle, right? So if 5 puzzles are asked, there should be 25 questions, which is out of 35 questions in reasoning, 25 were from puzzles. But then the point he was trying to make is, while the number of puzzles are 5, the number of questions on puzzles were not 25. So which means there will be like a few puzzles where there are only 3 questions or 2 questions, which supposedly, I mean, which are supposed to be easier ones, right? I mean, when the weightage is only 3 marks or 2 marks, it should be an easy nut to crack, okay? And then English again, as expected, reading comprehension, finding errors, fill in the blanks, etc. So no surprise in terms of the type of or the kind of topics which were tested, right? And no major surprise in terms of the quality of questions or the type of questions. But then to discuss this in detail, let me now invite my colleague Gayatri, who has interacted with a few students live at the examination centers, some of the or to be honest, only at one of the examination center, because one person can be present only in one place at a given point of time. And yes, we've got a lot of feedback through a survey that we had conducted for all the students who have gone in the first shift there, right? So I am pleased to invite Gayatri here, and she will throw light on what happened in the first shift of the IBPS PO preliminary examination. So thank you, Gayatri. Welcome to this session. I hope you have had a great time interacting with these guys, right?
Definitely. A lot of good news and a lot of exciting news that I have for all of you here. So good afternoon, everyone. And to start with, overall, the exam that happened today in the first slot was of moderate level. So now coming to each section, right? Now when we look at quants, students feel that it was moderate. Most of them felt it was moderate, and very few students came back and told us that it was difficult. Okay. And coming to reasoning, again, we got a feedback from moderate to difficult, but again most of the students felt that the reasoning section was moderate this time. And when you come to verbal, again verbal was the part where a lot of students found a bit of difficulty. Again moderate to difficult, but verbal, we got most feedback that we got was that verbal was difficult.
Difficult.
Yeah.
So out of all the 3 sections, I think what you're trying to say is quantitative aptitude and reasoning were of moderate difficulty.
Yes.
Or moderate level, and English language.
Correct.
The verbal section there was of difficult. I mean, was difficult standard.
Difficult, yes.
Could be also because of weakness. I mean, what we have found is generally students are, students find English to be a tough section, right? So maybe they find it to be difficult because of that. But then I think I was also going through a lot of feedback. Many students have also mentioned that also was of moderate level.
Correct. But again, in verbal, students feel that we should focus more on the grammar part and the vocabulary, right? Because spotting error section was a bit tough. That's what the feedback that we got this time.
Okay. All right. So overall, I think we can treat this to be a moderate exam.
Yes, definitely. It was moderate.
Okay. But does that guarantee that all the other shifts will also be moderate? I don't think so, right? I mean, I have never believed in this, to be very honest. I mean, this is the first time that we are doing a kind of exam analysis, because there are like floods of queries from students about what happened in the exam, and they would love to know this. But guys, I would repeat myself, do not depend too much on what has happened in the slots before you have taken your exam, right? Because you never know. The most predictable thing about these exams is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen, right?
Correct.
Tomorrow's exam may be extremely difficult, or it may be easier than what has happened today. But good to know. Otherwise, you will be like thinking too much about it and only, add to your nervousness.
So Priyanka, don't worry. See, at this point of time, you needn't be tense, right? You have finished your preparation and you're just going to take the exam. So don't worry whether English will be tough or maths will be tough. Just go for it.
I think Priyanka is mentioning that you are already scaring by saying
we're
that
not scaring you.
Yeah, so the idea is not to scare you, but make you realize that what has happened in the exam. And this is the reason I say don't depend too much on this, right? I know it more than positive, this kind of analysis will add to nervousness, right? I mean, we're already excited, a lot of nervousness is there, we have to deal with that exam pressure, and then we find that somebody comes out and says English language was difficult. Maybe it was difficult for those who have taken it, right? You may find it to be easy. Correct. Or maybe it was actually difficult, but when you go for the exam,
it's going to be easy.
It will be easy for you, right? If you go with the mindset that, okay, English language is going to be difficult, even if the questions are easy, then you'll not be able to deliver, or you'll start thinking too much about it, right? So don't get too attached to this.
See, just look at,
have a kind of surface view of what has happened there.
Just look at the topics that has come, right, for this shift, so that you can prepare those topics better, or look out for those topics.
Yeah, I think we have, before we move on, we have Avadut here who says, my exam is at 3:30 shift. Any suggestion, ma'am? So what's your suggestion for someone who's got this exam at 3:30?
So Advait, see again another feedback that I got was regarding the time management and choosing the questions correctly. Okay, now see, in the first shift there were a few questions from puzzles and seating arrangements, so which for that section, that particular shift, it was a bit tough. So try to choose the questions wisely and attempt of around 18 to 20 questions, right, from each section will be a good attempt. And also remember that there is negative marking this time, right? There is going to be
There's always been a negative marking.
Negative marking. So again, look out for that, because a lot of students, what they have done is they have like answered 40 questions, like from each section they've answered the full questions, 35, right? So keep out for the negative marking, look out for that. So that is another thing that you should do, but otherwise.
Yeah. Interesting feedback from Devendra Gehlot who says English ही बर्बाद करता है हमेशा, right? अब ये जब तक आप हिंदी में बोलते रहोगे वो बर्बाद ही करता रहेगा, right? मतलब, see, I think what I've seen Sylvia mentioned number of times is that the best way to improve on your language skills, right? English language or any language for that matter, is to start using it, right? So, the more you use it in your day-to-day, language, and whether it's writing or reading or, speaking, it improves by itself, right? So I think don't worry. इस बार शायद बर्बाद ना करे. अगर सोच के जाओगे कि बर्बाद करेगा तो डेफिनेटली करेगा. एक जैसे मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ कि if you think you can do it, you will do it. If you think you cannot do it, you will not be able to do it. It's not about aptitude alone. Your attitude plays a bigger role than your aptitude skills here, right? So have the right attitude, walk into the examination center with full confidence, and I'm sure nobody can stop you.
And Nagesh, I think 60 is a very good attempt for the first shift. So overall, that's what we have received from our students as well. Okay. So we have received that like in quants, most of the students have answered around 16 questions on an average. I'm talking on an average after our survey. And again, reasoning 16 and verbal 16. So that's what we have received.
16 is the average?
Average, yes. Okay. Around, generally it's around 20 or 25.
Right.
Most of them have attempted that way.
Right. But I think, while the average is 16 in each subject, we should not make up our mind that we will be safe if we attempt 16 questions, right? Understand, average for quant is 16, average for reasoning is 16, and for English language is 16, but doesn't mean that every person there has answered 16. If you go through the TalentSprint's online videos, we have discussed this concept of equal distribution, right? We say that average is not sum of the values by number of values. We don't depend on that formula. For us, average is an equal distribution, which means everybody has got the same value. But then don't take it literally for understanding this particular point here, because if average is 16 in each subject, doesn't mean that every person there has answered 16 in quant, 16 in reasoning and 16 in English. Somebody who's weak in quant might have answered 16 questions or 12 questions, but his strength would be reasoning and English there. So maybe there he has attended 25 questions or 28 questions. You're getting me? So don't go with any such frame of mind that I have to attempt these many questions, right? Like I've always said, your target should be to attempt all the 100 questions.
Correct.
You may solve only 60, you may solve only 70, 75, 65, that's different. But don't walk out of the examination center without reading all the 100 questions. I think that's the worst thing that can happen to any aspirant there, right? Believe me, you have failed if you have walked out of the examination center without reading all the 100 questions. Don't wait for the result. That's the failure in my view, right? Understand, when I say attempt, I'm not saying that you have to solve all the 100 questions. You have to go through all the 100 questions, right? I'm starting the reasoning section. The first 5 questions are on complex circular arrangement. Done. I have solved these 5 questions. I have attempted these 5 questions. What is the attempt? Skip. I'm skipping this. I know that I don't want to take this chance, right? So you're done with these 5 questions. So the whole idea is to run through all the 100 questions in that 1 hour of time and choose the easiest ones so that you can maximize your score. Like what she was mentioning, right? Choose the questions wisely. It's very, very important. Okay.
So now I think we'll move on to the questions that was asked.
Okay, so you have some data on the type of questions.
Correct.
Great.
So first we'll look at quants, right? I'll walk you all through the questions that appeared.
You've got a list of questions here. Interesting.
Yeah. Which are the topics that appeared, right, in the first shift.
Okay.
So we had around 4 to 5 questions from number series. Now, coming to number series, the questions was like you have these alternating series where plus 1 cube plus 1, right? Next number, then again it will be minus 2 cube minus 2.
Right.
Such patterns, right? Not very difficult ones.
Yeah.
So we had a few questions like that. Then we had questions on simplifications and approximations. And there were 2 to 3 questions from percentages. Okay. And then 2 questions from averages. Then 2 or 3 questions from profit and loss. Then we had 10 questions from data interpretations. That is, they had 2 sets, and one was on line graph and the other one was on table chart.
Okay.
Yeah. So then 2 questions from time and distance, 2 questions from time and work, 1 question from partnership, and 1 question from probability. And one thing that students noted this time was that there were no questions on equations.
There are no questions on equations, which is usually a 5 marks. It carries a weightage of 5 marks. So again, back to the same point. Does it mean that equations will not be asked at all in all the sections?
No, you can't say that, right? You can't predict that.
You can't predict that.
So first shift did not have equations.
So good. I think we have got a good breakup. Overall, you have mentioned that the section was moderate aptitude.
Yeah.
So about 10 questions from data interpretation. I think 5 questions on number series, 5 questions on simplifications.
Correct.
And the rest were from the topics of arithmetic aptitude, right? Arithmetic ability, percentages, time and work, time and distance, profit and loss, and stuff like that.
And students feel more or less it was like how it happened last year. The test was more or less in the similar way.
Right. Good. Should we move on to reasoning?
Yeah. So coming to reasoning again, there were 3 to 4 questions from blood relations. Then arrangements, there were 5 questions on arrangements. There were questions on puzzles, again 5 to 10 questions. Then coding, decoding, 4 to 5 questions was there. Then there were questions on inequality, 5 questions. Apparently the questions on inequality was very easy to answer. And there were questions on syllogisms and statements and conclusions. Now coming to puzzles.
So syllogisms was asked. This was one big question I had in my mind, because I'm sure guys who have been preparing for bank exams over the last 2-3 years, they would know that last year there was a major surprise in the IBPS PU and the CIU exam, preliminary exam, that there were no questions on syllogs. See, we have always mentioned that syllogism is like one very important topic. It usually carries a weightage of 5 marks. And personally, my favorite topic, and I believe it's really a test of your reasoning skills, right? Coding and decoding doesn't test your reasoning. Syllogism, is the true test of your reasoning skills. So there were no questions. So this time, I think many students have also asked me during the live session that, will syllogisms be asked or not? I was like, man, I don't know. I wish I could predict. I didn't.
So syllogisms came this year. There were 3 to questions.
And how about the question
No, it was very normal questions that usually come in syllogisms for IBPS.
Nothing like reverse syllogism.
No, nothing like that. No.
Okay.
No surprises.
No surprises. Last year, like I said, it was a shocker. So there were no questions in the preliminary examination, but then there were a few questions asked in the main exam, which were on reverse syllogisms. Conclusions were given, statements were to be found. Good. And then I think inequality 5. So I think these are all score boosters, right? 5 questions on syllogisms, 5 questions on inequality. So altogether, these 10 questions you should solve in about 4 minutes, not more than that.
Correct.
4 minutes maximum, you'll be able to crack these 10 questions on inequality.
Correct.
Inequality, in my view, is the easiest topic that you can expect in reasoning ability. I mean, there cannot be a question which is easier than inequality. There are 3 standard rules that you need to follow. Just apply those rules
and even if it takes, somebody is asking, it's time consuming, even if it takes a bit of a time, that 2-3 minutes you spend on that question, you will get 5 or 6 answers correct, right?
Right.
So don't leave such questions thinking that it's going to take a lot of time, I'll not be able to do it, right? And then coming to puzzles, again the questions that was asked was, one was on linear arrangement, like 5 people facing north and south, sitting in 2 rows, and then some attributes is given, right? They like this color, questions of that sort was asked. And then again there was a question, again complex assignments, right, where scheduling, where we say that A goes to work on a Monday, another person goes on another day, and they like this chocolate or different attributes of that kind.
Right.
So those were the 2 types of questions that came from puzzles.
Was there any circular arrangement? Do you have any idea?
Circular arrangement? No, I did not get any feedback on circular arrangement.
I see.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the English language section?
Yeah. So now coming to English language, there were 8 to 9 questions from reading comprehension, and then 5 questions from para jumbles, 5 questions from error correction. Error correction in the sense that you are given a sentence, it's broke into 5 parts, find which is the spot the error. Yeah, correct. And then clause test, and then sentence improvement. Sentence improvement wherein one part is bold, one part of the sentence is bold.
I'm sure these guys know about all these topics here. So nothing surprising in terms of the topics which were tested, right? And I think overall looks like a moderate level paper there. Any other feedback that you have in specific?
No, that's about it. It was moderate, more or less moderate.
Good. So I think, guys, overall the IBPS PO preliminary examination in the year 2017, the first day's first shift has been moderate as per the feedback that we have got from the students, right? And no surprises as such. The type of topics, the type of questions asked were all in line with what we had thought of, right? I mean, what we had prepared for, okay? But having said that, be prepared for the worst, right? I mean, if you're not done with your examination already, be prepared for the worst. You never know what's going to happen at 3:30 today or at 8 o'clock tomorrow, or in the shifts which are going to be conducted on 14th and 15th of October. All right. So overall, I think moderate. I'm sure a lot of you are asking me about the cutoff score or are interested to know what would be the expected cutoff or how many questions we should have attempted. So like Gayatri has already mentioned, 16 questions per section is the average that we have got to know so far, right? It could be more or less depending on more feedback that we're going to get. But when it comes to the cutoff score, I think the cutoff score overall in this exam would be something that I don't know. Right, I honestly do not know, right, and I would not like to predict because in my view it doesn't matter. How does it matter? I mean, I have been explaining this to all our students for almost 3-4 years now, and I've kind of changed the way I respond to these questions these days. So let me give you an example, right? I mean, see, it's any number that I may give you will maybe scare you, right? Like I may say that the cutoff score is 70. Could be, I mean, last year it was around 48-49 marks. You know that for general category the cutoff was around 49 marks. Right. So it could be around that, but let's say that if I mention that the cutoff is going to be 65, you're already scared, right? I mean, 65 is the cutoff? No. How are you going to score more than 65 in your 1 hour of time, right? It's going to be difficult. So will you give up? No. You will still have to go and give your best shot, right? If I say this time the paper was really easy, the cutoff will be around 30 marks. Assume, right? For the sake of argument, let's say the cutoff is going to be 30 marks. Then does it mean that tomorrow in the exam you will attempt 50 questions very nicely and then leave? Last 10 minutes you will just sit and relax because cutoff is going to be 30, so doesn't matter. No, right? Irrespective of what I say, whether you have, let's assume there are 2 categories of students now. Category 1 who have already finished the exam, category 2 who are going to appear in this exam going forward, right? So for the category 1, expected cutoff doesn't really matter because your exam is already over. You can't go and change anything, right? You can't go back in the past and change things for yourself, right? So let's wait for the results and continue your preparation for main exam. Hope for the best. For category 2 who have not taken the exam already, how does it matter? I've already explained you the 2 scenarios, right? It doesn't matter. You are anyway going to go and give your best. So don't keep this cutoff story in your mind at all, right? Let me tell you, many students, in fact most of the students, fail to perform in the exam just because they think too much about it, just because they are thinking too much about the cutoff score. So let's just not worry about it. Whatever be the cutoff, we'll get to know on the day of the results. Focus on what is in your control, right? What is in your control? Your preparation, which I'm sure you have done really well all these days, and your performance. So go deliver your best in that 1 hour of time, and I'm sure nobody can stop you. I mean, you should be satisfied with what you have done. You should be satisfied with your preparation so far. You should be satisfied with what you're going to do in that 1 hour of the examination. Yet there should not be any regret, right? So don't worry. Doesn't matter. The cutoff score doesn't really matter. What matters is your performance. So just keep that in mind. And now that we are so close to the examination, I think one piece of advice that I would like to give to all of you is relax. Okay? Don't get nervous. I mean, little bit of nervousness is natural, but don't think too much about it, right? Relax, keep yourselves calm and cool. Okay? I would say if your exam is today or any slot tomorrow, sleep well, eat well, enjoy, right? Do something other than your preparation, because preparing anything now
time is over.
Is not going to help you, right? Preparation time is over. Like she's rightly said, preparation time is over now. So don't do any preparation and just go and give your best in the exam. All right? So I think that's about it from our end. I'm not sure if this would really be helpful. Like I said, I would not care. Doesn't matter, man. You'll go and give your best. Now, there's one question that I have, right? In the last 2-3 sessions that we have done, many students have asked about this ACIU exam, which is going to be, which is tentatively scheduled for 15th of October, right?
Yeah.
So I think while you guys are preparing for your IBPS PU exam and are going to appear for the same in the days to come, the next big exam we have is the Assistant Central Intelligence Officers exam, right? Which is being conducted by Intelligence Bureau under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So a lot of students have asked us to kind of solve some previous papers and all that, and we usually do it for preliminary examination. We have done it for IBPSP also, right? We have done 7 sessions solving previous year papers or important questions. So
yes, we are
what do we do for them? We are planning to do a session.
We will plan a refresher session for them, right? Where we will be solving previous year question papers, so that you are well prepared for the exam. See, it's always better to solve the previous year question papers before you attend the test.
Right. So when are you going to do this? You are going to do this, because I am not going to do anything for the Assistant Central Intelligence Officers exam. I mean, I can look at the previous year paper, but I think Gayatri is the one who's going to help you out with this this particular examination. So I think I'm glad to share that this Wednesday at 6 p.m. Wednesday at 6 p.m. we are planning to do a previous year's paper discussion for the Assistant Central Intelligence Officer exam. But I guess the pattern has changed this year. Also, the format has changed. Like,
yes,
it's going online for the first time, right?
Correct. So there are 25 questions from quants, reasoning and verbal, and general awareness. So again, 100 questions and 60 minutes. And there is a Tier 1 and Tier 2 exam that happens. So you have to clear the Tier 1 exam to be able to write the Tier 2, which is of a descriptive paper.
Right.
So what we are planning to do is take a previous year questions that was asked in the ACIU exam and solve it in the session. Right. So students get an idea as to what kind of questions come and what are the smart ways in which you can attempt these questions.
Good. So I'm sure all of you will love to join this session, right? Given that most of them may be appearing for this examination as well. So Wednesday at 6 p.m. I think it is 11th of October.
Yes,
11th of October at 6 p.m. for a session on the previous year paper discussion of the ACIU exam, Assistant Central Intelligence Officers exam by Gayatri. And Gayatri is going to help you out with this smart solutions, the best of the techniques to solve those questions really quick. And again, like she said, solving previous year papers is like a formality. I mean, doesn't mean that similar questions would be asked this year, right? First of all, the pattern has changed completely. The scheme of exam has changed, right? It is going online for the first time. So no way we can expect or assume that similar questions would be asked. But then what really, how does it really help you is that when you go to the examination center, you should not feel, you should not get a feeling that, oh, I should have solved the previous year paper as well.
It is to boost your confidence, right?
Yeah. So you should have done everything possible there, right? You should not, feel that, oh, I missed out on something. It will only add to your nervousness. So all these things are actually done to, control that emotion of yours so that you can give your best. All right. So I think it will be great to see you, Gayatri, in that live session. I would also join that session and see some of the smart techniques that she's going to explain. And I'm sure you'll come up with more such sessions in future for the student community preparing for bank and government exams. By the way, TalentSprint's online students, students would know Gayatri, they may not have seen her so far. This is probably the first time you have.
No, for banking this is the
for
first
the bank
time,
exam
but I
preparation,
do for IT.
Yeah,
TalentSprint.
So, but then I'm sure students must have seen you responding to a lot of questions in the discussion forums, right? So, she is the Gayatri that has.
I'm the one who answers your queries in the discussion forum.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's been a lot of improvement after that, right? The turnaround time has come down to around 24 hours, less than 24 hours. So, that's a good feedback that we've got from students, and I'm sure it will only help and grow from here.
Definitely.
Okay? Yeah. And before we wind up and call it a day, we have another person joining us here to share some feedback. I don't know what feedback. She's just.
So I'll give it over to her.
Yeah.
Huh?
So we'll invite the.
Okay. See you guys. See you guys on Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Yeah. Wednesday at 6 p.m. for the Assistant Central Intelligence Officer's paper. Yeah. So we have one more person here joining us in the studio in a quick while, and by the time she comes into the frame, let me see if you have any queries. Yeah, so students are really excited, Gayatri, to see you. They're saying we are eager to listen from Gayatri ma'am, and they're thankful for that initiative that we have taken for the CIU exam, right? What about the English? Are you going to help about the new pattern, right? Well, I don't know if I'll be able to help. I'm not the right person, but then I've got the expert here right next to me. Let us invite Sylvia to throw some light for the students' queries on English language. Hi. How is that you have suddenly appeared in live session?
Because I saw the chat comments.
Okay.
And everybody was like, please, what about English? Tell us something. You're scaring us. And I saw some comments on English, so I thought, let me just put them to rest.
All right. Great.
So hi guys. I'm sure you're all excited to know about Gayatri, who's going to be helping you moving forward. And as always, Rohit is there to bug you guys. Huh? But, I mean, looking at the comments, I just wanted to quickly spend some time on that. Now, the most feedback that we've got is, I know it was looking a little scary to begin with, but let me tell you, I think most of us get scared only because if there is some small change in the pattern, we panic. But we always need to remember that it's the same strategy that we are applying. For example, spot the error questions, right? Some of them came back and said, oh, spot the error is extremely difficult, but I know it's just a para-based thing. Basically, I understand if there's one sentence which has errors itself, all of us panic. Imagine 4 sentences in that question, right? So para-based spot the errors was mostly to do with not one sentence, there were 4 sentences, A, B, C, D, and then you had to find which sentence, you know, in which sentence the error was there. But it's still the same strategy. And we've done so many questions, we've practiced so many questions, especially on spot the error. I just wanted to highlight some of the types of errors that were there in the exam, right? Errors that we are familiar with, like subject-verb agreement error. We all know those errors. There's nothing new, you know, for you to panic about.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but I hope you are not going to ask any questions to me because I don't want to.
No. I will not ask you any questions. That's not fair. We joined for English paper, sir. What do you mean that's not? I don't understand Ashwini's comment. What does she mean by that?
Yeah, so I think they're all nervous about the English language section. And see, it's usually considered to be a tough section, right? I mean, believed to be a little difficult. But then if you go back in the history and find out, clearing the cutoff score is not difficult at all in my view, right? I mean, you can...
No, it's not.
Can you not score like 5-6 marks easily? I mean, I'm not for a second saying that the cutoff is going to be around that. But, you know, if it is your weakness, don't worry. Ensure that you are able to clear the cutoff score and maximize on the other 2 sections that you have, right? Likewise, your weakness may be quantitative aptitude. So don't really panic there that how we're going to survive, right? Just ensure that you attempt decent number of questions, right? The easiest ones, and focus more on your strengths there, right? Which could be reasoning or English language. So,
yeah. So Deepthi is saying, you know, I'm having my exam tomorrow. I'm sure a lot of you are anticipating, and you know, I don't want you to be scared. I think the most important thing for you when you approach the exam is to have the right attitude. You know this, you've got this. You know all the strategies, you know all the shortcut methods, you know all the rules when it comes to, you know, spot the error rules. It's nothing new. Just be open. Now that you're aware, okay, there is a para-based error in terms of spot the error. So you're aware of it. I think the panic reduces when you know what questions you can expect. So that's the objective of this session, right? That's exactly what we're doing here. So you don't have to worry about that it's going to be extremely challenging. No, it's not.
Yeah, and I think Amanjot Singh has very rightly put up there saying that basics never change. They can give any type, but I think fundamentals is the key.
Absolutely.
So that's the point that you're trying to make. Yeah,
Bang. Aman said it for you.
Yeah, and Harita says, I feel quant is difficult. Well, could be. I mean, you know, each one of us have our own strengths and weaknesses. So quantitative aptitude may be your weakness, but don't believe that you'll not be able to crack this exam because you're not strong in that particular section, right? I mean, if it is difficult for you, face it. Attempt minimum number of questions that you can, easiest one, and focus more on the other sections. I mean, you know what your strength and what your weakness is. I'm glad that at least you realize that quantitative aptitude is difficult for you, right? Most of the times the problem is students don't even know what their weakness is, and they kind of you know, end up doing something throughout their preparation which doesn't really add to add any value. So I think good that you know what your weakness or what your strengths are. Focus accordingly. Okay.
Raju, you don't have to be tensed. I mean, it's good. You know, it's good to have butterflies in your stomach, nervousness. Just convert that into positive energy, because you know what sort of questions you can expect. So you're more ready mentally, right? And like we always keep saying, it's about managing your time. I think that's where everybody gets.
So I think if you are any nervous about anything, right, how are you going to manage your time, or which sequence what sequence should be followed to attempt these sections, and you know how much of time should be spent across each of the sections. All this has been discussed in our session that we did last Wednesday on exam strategy. So if you guys have not participated in that live session, don't worry, it's available in your YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our channel and then watch that video for the last minute preparation, last minute exam strategy as to how do you spend that 1 hour of your time during the exam, right? How should you allocate 60 minutes across these 3 sections, and what should be the ideal sequence that you must follow so that you can maximize your chances. So any questions around that? I'm not you know, I'm kind of intentionally skipping it here because it's been discussed already. Just go back and watch that video and it'll help you out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just to answer Ashwini's question, because that will help a lot of others. Specifically, you're looking for spot the error, what to focus on. I mean, I'll go with what I have information based on, you know, today morning slot, right? Remember, we keep saying collocations, this new word that you guys learned from me, associated words, right? Something is always available to someone, not available by, things like that. Or tense errors, right? If you say, okay, how have your friends been doing? So you always say, my friends have been doing well. You don't say, my friends have been done well, right? So tense errors, things that you already are aware of, nothing new. There was this one particular line, it said, a range of IT products came to be sold under brand names. And the error that you had to identify or spot, right? A range of IT products came to be sold. I think in the question it was some other, came to be sell or something. So it's all tense errors, came to be selling, continuous tense. So things like that you can identify because you are in the habit of, you know, reading extensively, which I'm hoping you guys are doing. And you won't waste a lot of time in questions like this because this is something that you're aware of. It's not a new error. Tense-based errors, subject-verb agreement errors, collocations, preposition errors. You're aware of all this. So, and another one was, you know, languages, article, very basic type of errors, article-based errors. For languages, we don't say, I know the English, right? You say, I know English, or I know French, I know Chinese, right? So, article-based errors, these were the types of errors, just to name a few, because Ashwini had specifically asked that question. I thought I'll address it. And I'm sure it'll be helpful for others. So just brush up what you already know. You know enough. I think if tomorrow is your exam, you should be like well prepared now.
Okay. Just one question for you.
Yeah.
Did you go and take the exam by any chance? Like, how did you get these questions? I have not been able to spot any.
I have a source, secret source.
Secret source.
Yeah.
Can you please introduce me to the secret source, because
I will.
I mean, I would like to know what exactly has been asked in aptitude and reasoning. While Gayatri has done a great job in finding out the type of questions, the different topics, but Yeah, if you could source some questions from your secret source,
Yes.
we would love to discuss those as well and see if we can help you anyway by solving those questions. Anyways, I think the moral of the story is not to panic, right? Keep yourselves calm and composed and go give your best. Remember, the only objective you should have is to attempt all the 100 questions. Solve as many as you can, but attempt all the 100 questions. Read all the 100 questions in that limited 1 hour of time that you have and give your best possible. Okay? And I think it's time now that you cut your preparation completely. Don't worry too much.
Yeah.
And relax, right? Do you have any term for that? I mean, now that the language expert is with us, I've always said relax and keep calm and composed and, you know.
If you ask the language expert, I'm just going to go very Indian and say chill madi.
Chill madi, huh? That's Indian, huh? Chill madi. Okay. So, guys, relax and
Chill madi.
Chill madi and do well. And we will meet again for your mains exam preparation. Okay. So, all the best. And while we usually say keep practicing, this time I would like to say relax, keep relaxing, eat well, sleep well, have a good sleep before your examination. All right. And give your best. We'll meet again in this free live sessions that we have for you,
Yeah.
which are being delivered through YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our channel, don't forget to subscribe now to get notified about any of these live sessions or any videos that we upload, which can help you, move closer to your dream bank or government job, right? So subscribe to our channel, keep relaxing and take very good care of yourselves. We wish you the best for your IBPS PO preliminary exam. All right?
Yes, all the best, guys. You will do well. And please come and share with us how you've done. We'd like to know from you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.